Simple photography. One, two, three. I've only bloody done it. I've double exposed on that shot. So I've come out today armed up with an old 1950s classic folding camera that was kindly sent to me by a subscriber and one of my patrons as well. Thank you very much for sending me the camera. It's absolutely amazing, and you know I love my folding cameras, and today I'm going to test it out and shoot it for the very first time. And I've come to Ryde. It's a beach. I don't often come this side, but I'll just show you not one reason, but I've come up here to get some photographs over this side. I don't really come over here, but I've just seen something I'm going to get a photograph of, and I think it will look really nice in black and white. So there's the scene I'm looking at. We've got the sky, we've got the sea, we've got this grey line of shingle, we've got these nice lines going on as well. So it's going to be very minimalistic, and this is going to be my first shot. So I've brought out my Nikon light meter and I'm looking at the scene first of all. There is detail in the sky, and I'd like to get that exactly what you're seeing through the GoPro here. That would be really nice, but it might be touch and go with the shutter speeds that I'm using. I'm using FP4 and I'm going to be pushing that to 400, so a couple of stop push on the FP4 just to bang a little bit more contrast out of it. I like doing that. So, but I'm looking at this scene here where to meter, and I'm going to meter on a bright part, spot meter. So maybe that might be the sky or the sea, I'll depend. And then I'll get my reading, which will give me a middle grey, and then I'll come down, or open up, sorry, a couple of stops. So if my reading is 1/25 of a second for argument's sake on the sky, that'll give me middle grey. That's going to look too dark and dull. So I'll just open up a couple of stops, come down to 1/30th and take the picture from there. That's my aim for this shots in this conditions today. And I've got my gloves on because my hands are cold. So there's the camera there, and I've done something really stupid. I only brought out one tripod, which this GoPro's on. I was meant to bring out two, one for the GoPro, one for this. So I'm going to have to handhold the GoPro to show you guys what I'm up to. But this is the camera, the Franka Solida. So while I'm setting up, getting this on that tripod there, I'll show you a little overview of the Franka Solida. I'll show you a few more compositions that I'm going to make, and then we'll get back, develop the film. We'll go in the darkroom and see if any of these make a nice print. I think they will. We'll soon see. That's the light meter I'm using, the Nikon, and I've also got a cable release as well. So I've got everything I need here to take these photographs. Let's have a quick look over the camera so you guys can see nice and close what this camera's all about. This is the Franka Solida II camera, and it was a series of folding cameras that were produced by Franka Camera Work in, I don't know how to pronounce this word, but I think it's Beirut or Bayreuth in Germany. And it ran from the 1930s all the way to the 1960s, and they were really popular at the time because they were strong built cameras, and also when they were folded they were easy to put in the pocket and carry about. And they also had quality lenses too. Now these folding cameras aren't through the lens focusing, so you look through there and there's your little window where you focus from, and it's also got a rangefinder on it as well, so it's not like an SLR or a TLR where the image comes through the lens on a prism and then through here into your eye so you can get your compositions perfectly. It is a little bit hit and miss. So if I look through there and look at my subject and I turn this little dial here like so, and the two images come together, and when they come together and nice and in focus, that's when I read off of here the distance and dial that into the lens, and it goes from 3 feet is the closest distance all the way to infinite as well. So say for example I'm looking through a scene, a tree trunk or whatever, and it's coming in at 6 feet. Then I just go to the lens and dial in on here 6 feet, and then I should be in focus. And when you want to take a picture, you advance the camera like so. There's a little tiny click, and then you cock the shutter, which is there, and you take your picture. And the apertures on this camera are f3.5 to f22, and the shutter speeds are 1 second, 2, 4, 8, 15, 30, 60, 125 and 300, so it's got plenty to play with on the shutter speeds. I think if you can be as creative as you like. So there's your shutter speeds there, and if I move the shutter speeds, you can notice that the aperture is moving with it as well. It's coupled with the aperture ring, so if I'm changing shutter speeds from 15th of a second to 8th of a second, the aperture is going to move with it. I can release that. There's a little button on the back, but it is a little bit of a it isn't easy, put it that way. But when I do that, I'm doing that now, and the aperture ring should be moving on its own. There you go. And on the front of the camera, there's your little rangefinder window. This one's got a little crack in it, but it doesn't matter. And there's your viewfinder for taking your pictures. And the lens on this is a Schneider cruise neck Xenar lens. It's a 80mm lens, so it's around about, I don't know, 45mm is that in 35mm format. And I haven't shot this camera yet, so I reckon this lens is going to be nice and sharp though. And to fold the camera away, you've got to push this little button down here, and then it will fold. So we'll have a look at the guts inside. There you go, very simple. And that's where you load your 120 film, put it over, and this is your take-up spool here. And there's your nice big 6x6 medium format negative size. If you look here, you've got the old price as well. Look at that, the old pounds, shillings and pence. £30, 42 shillings and 6 pence, I think that is. So this is Ilford FP4 120 film. So I'm going to try and load this around a video camera. It's not easy, but we'll see how we get on. Pull that open, there we go. Feed that in there like so, and then just start advancing it forward. And then we'll advance this until the arrow gets into the middle of the frame. And there she is there, and then I can close the lid and advance to my frame number 1. And that's the little window that I now use. If you can see, there's the arrow underneath. You might not be able to see that, but the arrow's underneath there now. And then all I'm going to do when I'm on the field is start advancing to frame number 1 and then start taking my photographs. This is 6x6, so I'll get 12 photographs out of my 120 roll of film. So I'm all set up, ready to go. I've set the camera to just below infinite, which is fine. You can see on the lens there, I've dialed in. It's given me 50 feet and beyond, so but that's going to be fine for this shot. I've got my cable release in. I've set it to 1/60th f11, which is what my spot meter gave me, looking up at the sky and opening up a couple of stops. So f11 1/60th, we'll see what we get. I've balanced the camera out, so I've got that nice dark line there, a light line, the sea and the clouds. Let's take the picture and I'll show you how it looks. Simple photography. That's done. And it's a 6x6 negative, so 6x6 composition, the square composition. Looking through that viewfinder, I think I've got it, got the horizons dead straight. I hope so, but if not, it's going to be no problem later on if I like the picture to go in the darkroom with. Just do a little bit of jiggery pokery with the composition to get it right. So the only thing with these cameras is it's a very small viewfinder, so I find it a little bit tricky sometimes to get exact compositions if I'm looking for straight lines, etc. But no problem if you want to crop later on. So this time I've brought the camera closer to the sea. So I'm pretty much getting that kind of composition there, just the stones and the sea and the sky, I hope. So I'm getting rid of the sand this time. So I've just brought the camera a bit closer, exactly the same metering. We'll see how this one comes out. I've advanced the film as well to the next frame, frame number 2. Let's see how this one looks. Done. So I've just come away from the beach, up around here, come over to, I saw this. I was thinking about this sort of composition, but my lens on that folding camera is not that wide. So I'd end up coming out with something like this, I reckon, which I don't think that looks that great. So I've just come to an angle. Just going to get a last minute composition. There's some people walking past, that'll be quite nice. So I'll wait for them to come over to the left side of the frame. I'm going to be quick, and then people are walking past. You poke yourself up the nose with the cable release. Okay, take the shot. Done. Some of these folding cameras, it's quite tricky. It's easy to double expose. You forget where you've if you've advanced the film or not. If you get into a pattern of shooting and leaving it, and then when you get to your next composition, then advance the film, you kind of get into that pattern. It's less likely that you'll double exposed. So let's get a distance. I'm going to focus on the bench, not on the beach huts. I'm going to wait for this person to walk past, I think. Hello, dog. What I was going to do, but the dog come over to me. Never mind. Let's take the shot. Done. And I can hear that change from 1/60th to 1/15th. It's sort of, you know, which is nice. It gives you confidence that the shutter speeds are working, or at least doing something. So there's a guy coming, so I've got to be quick with this one. I've already composed. I've got my focusing in, and I've got that bench right there looking out to the sea, and I've just brought the camera up a little bit just so we've got the bench just above the brickwork, and then we can take our picture. I've only bloody done it. I've double exposed on that shot. There was a woman went past who I know, and we got chatting. Yeah, how are you, all right?
How are you with the hat on?
Yeah, fine.
What are you doing?
I'm just photographing some on this old camera.
Yeah.
She works for the BBC, and we got chatting about stuff. And it was in my mind, I just kept thinking to myself, don't forget to advance the film. Totally got put off, and because I've got the cable release in now, it doesn't, it will let me take the shot. Oh, I can't believe I've done that. That's what happens sometimes. You can get put off with this sort of photography. You've got to keep a concentration, or just slips your mind. What I should have done was said to her, look, just excuse me a minute, and then advance the film. Never mind. Last shot. To be honest with you, I've run out of ideas. There's not much going on down here, but I'm just trying to look for different compositions and on the last couple of shots. Getting hot underneath that hat. So that's it. All my photographs are taken. What I need to do now is put the camera back in the bag. I've already rewound the film back onto the take-up spool, close it up, get back, develop the film and see what we've got. These are quite fun cameras to shoot. You've seen me shoot these plenty of times. And if you're new into photography, I've banged this drum so many times, and you're interested in getting into medium format, some of the cameras, a lot of the cameras are quite expensive for medium format cameras. And it was a Zeiss Icon Netar which got me enjoying the square format, the 6x6 format, and also medium format as well. Before that I had a use of a Mamiya 645 from a friend of mine. But I got the Zeiss Icon Netar, which was about £20 at the time, going back some years now, and I really enjoyed shooting it, you know, and it got me to enjoy and appreciate the quality of medium format photography. So if you're thinking about getting into medium format, have a look at these folding cameras. You know, you can get some really good ones out there. Most of the lenses are really good, and they are fun as well. They do slow you down, like you've seen me today. They do slow you down, but I don't mind that. I'm here at the beach taking some nice walks. Unfortunately, there wasn't many compositions that were, you know, floating my boat. So I shot 12 mediocre shots, I think. But you never know, there might be a little gem in there somewhere to print. Let's get back and see what we've got. And there it is there, all snug as a bug in a rug, as they say. And then let's develop this film in 510 PYRO. I'll video the developing side of things in case anyone's interested about 510 PYRO or development in itself. Let's let's get on with it. So my FP4 film is all safe inside my tank. Let's move that to one side, and this is the developer that I'm using, 510 PYRO. And this is a staining developer, so the stain is meant to help with the highlights. Most people semi-stand with this, I think. But I'm going to just go with normal Ilford agitation. So I've got 500 millilitres of water, and I need to use 5 millilitres of PYRO, so that's going to be 1 part to 100. Notice I'm using the gloves as well, because this stuff can really stain your fingers. But it's a very, very good developer, and it's worth giving it a go if you like playing around with developers. 5 millilitres, look at that, in it goes. And like this stuff will really stain, so make sure you've got cloths down and gloves on and stuff like that. Don't worry, I'm using a thermometer. I've never broke it in 10 years I've had it. It'll be fine. Now don't forget, I've pushed this film, so I need to do a little bit longer development than usual. 11 minutes is a recommended time for FP4, but because I've pushed it a couple of stops, I'm going to go for 16 minutes, and I'm literally just winging this. I'm doing no maths at all, just going by what I've done before. So I'm going to give it 16 minutes, and that should give me nice tonality of the negatives. No pre-wash at all, just dump it in. In it goes. Put the lid on, and then I'm going to invert for the first 30 seconds, and then after that I'm going to do 10 seconds or 5 inversions every minute for the next 15 minutes. So 30 seconds here. And this is what I'm doing. Many people do different ways, but I've done it this way before with my FP4, and the results come out exactly how I want them. Or near enough, I should say. And that's it. So just coming up to the first minute, and I'll do 5 inversions or 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 seconds, there you go. Done. So I'll keep on doing that, and then once that's finished, I'll then stop the development with water, because if I use stop bath, it's going to strip away the staining properties, and I don't want to do that. So I'll be stopping with water, and then I'll be fixing with an alkaline fixer, which has not got any acid properties in it at all, so that won't strip away the stain either. So when I was shooting that FP4, I was underexposing the film. I was pushing it. And the reason I was doing that was to get a little bit more speed out of the camera. I didn't want to get round to those sort of 1/15th shutter speeds for the seascapes I was shooting. I was able to get 1/60th, even though I was using a tripod, which is quite useful for those sort of view cameras. I can set up the composition, use the cable release, especially with waves and stuff. I can wait for the right moment and look, and then just hit the button. So it made sense to take a tripod, but I forgot by now to use the vlogging tripod. It's coming up to time. The state of that. That's all the anti-elation dye off the film. I could have pre-washed that off, but I don't generally bother. Okay, so we'll stop now with just normal water. That'll stop the development. And wash all that developer away. And that's the rest of it. Now we'll do the fix. In goes the fixer. And it's only 300ml of fixer in there because I'm rotary processing, so I'll put it on its side, and that will cover the whole film. And off that goes now for 5 minutes will be enough. I'll let it do its thing. The last thing to do is just tidy up my work area, get rid of this state of the tissue that I've put down. I'm in the kitchen, by the way, if I've got to do this before my wife comes home. Hope they've come out okay. You can never tell with a new camera, those old cameras, whether the speeds are still working accurately, but they look absolute mustard. Look at that. They've actually come out really nice. I'm so happy. So let's get these hung out, get them dried, and we'll see how they look under the light box. I'm really happy with those. I'll be interested to see that double exposure actually, see what happened there. But yeah, I'm happy, they look good. So as expected, my legs have come out really nice in that PYRO, just pushing the film a little bit to compensate for the underexposure. It's given me a little tiny bit more contrast, and these look really, really nice. There's a couple of strange things going on. One leg here, I've got some strange line, I don't know what that is. And of course, the double exposure. You can see all the other legs, how they've come out, and then when you put two exposures in one, like that was there, it's a lot denser. So, but yeah, that's just goes to show you've got to have concentration when you're shooting these old folding cameras, especially when it comes to advancing the film. And I don't know what that is there. Really strange. You've got this line going across. Can you see it starting there? And it whips across right through the centre of the frame. I don't know if that's a slight leak. I really have not got a clue what that is. Haven't got it on any of the other negatives. But I'm pleased the way that they've come out, and that the development has done its job. What I did, what was that, 16 minutes, sorry, with that 510 PYRO with the FP4 2-stop push. They've come out good. And I was quite happy as well with the way that I've composed. I've managed to get my horizons nice and straight, which for me is most important. But, you know, no big deal if they're not. I can just crop if I need to in the print, but it's always nice to get the whole negative in if I can. And I'll just pause the video there for a moment, guys, mentioning these old cameras. There's a couple of channels that you may be interested in if you're interested in these old cameras. One of them is B4 Digital, a nice gentleman. He's got a massive collection of classic cameras, and he's got probably hundreds of videos on all these old cameras on his YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description. Howard Pound, check his channel out as well. He's got quite a lot of old cameras that he's started to show on his channel. And I also came across another, not a YouTube channel, but a website some of you guys may be interested in. I found it absolutely fascinating. A guy called Frans van der Kamp, and he's got a website with lots of photographs that he took in the 70s and 80s of motor racing, Formula 1, Formula 3 and stuff like that. I went through his website, I was looking at his pictures, and I was absolutely fascinated with them. He's got a whole catalogue on there, so I'll put a link in the description there as well, and check out that guy's website. You might like his photographs. Let's get back to talking about the Franka Solida II. I hope you're enjoying the video. So I think the whole idea was good, and I got a couple of nice photographs from it, especially this one that I'm doing at the moment, and the very first one that I took with those lines. So I'm gonna have a look at this one first, because I don't know why, I just like this one. Let's put it under the enlarger and we'll see how it comes out on a print. I've got a little tiny strange phenomenon going on the top left corner of the negative coming down. That's on the camera. That's something in the camera, maybe a little bit of a fibre or something inside the camera. It's on quite a lot of the frames, so I'll have to crop this one in slightly. And the worst thing about this sort of photograph to print is there's no detail in the sand at the bottom, so there's nothing there to stop any dust. If I get any dust trapped on the negative or whatever, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. But I've got to try my best just to make sure that my work area is clean for a clean print. So we'll see how it goes. I'll attempt it, but I'm not going to waste too much paper trying to get it right, and I'm certainly not going to sit there for a month of Sundays trying to spot stuff out. One or two spots, not too many. So I'm going to attempt to make an 8.5 by 8.5 inch print. I've got 9.5 by 12 inch paper, so that's fine, but the only thing I'm doing, you can see it on the baseboard there, that's how big it is, so I need to crop in just to get those hairy bits on the edges off. So, which is okay, I can just crop to however I see fit. But most importantly is get that horizon straight. I must get that straight. And I've put a little GoPro in the corner of my darkroom. How about that? I don't know what the quality's like. This is quite low lit, and GoPros ain't great in low light, but you might see a little bit more. Super wide as well, look. And I've got to restock up on paper. I had a massive print session the other day, so I need to get some stocking up. I'm actually liking this fine lustre paper lately, but I might switch over to gloss again in a short while. I don't buy stacks and stacks of paper. I get whatever I fancy at the time and use that, you know. It's expensive paper now. You can't afford to get, you know, stacks and stacks and stacks of the stuff unless you're selling loads of prints. So I'm going to print this on a 2.5 grade filter, and I'm going to put my test strip right across between the sea and the sky. So that'll give me the best of both worlds, looking at tonality there. Off we go. So we've got 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds, 14 seconds and so on. 5 seconds is too light. 10 seconds looks a little bit too dark in the sand area and the sky. So I reckon 7, maybe 8 seconds might look nice. I can see loads of tonality in this. Let's make a test strip at 7 seconds across the whole thing and see how that looks. So we'll go diagonally across the print. So I've got sky, a bit of sea and a bit of sand as well. See how that looks from there. 7 seconds. 2.5 grade filter. So I'm going to go ahead and make a print. I'm going to do 7 seconds, which is nice for the sand, but I notice the sea and the sky needs a little bit longer. But if I go 7 seconds on that, even longer, the sand's going to get darker just to compensate for the sky. So I'm going to have to do a bit of burning in on the sky and the sea, but not with that 2.5 grade filter. I'm going to use a contrast 0 for that. So a little bit of split grade if you like. So we said 7 seconds. So let's give that the 7 seconds now. So that's just doing the sand area. And now I'll put a contrast 0 in, which is a low contrast filter. And it will just build up the highlights for me in those areas. And a little bit of density on the blacks as well. And I'm going to do that for 7 seconds and just use my hand to cover like so. And we'll see how that looks. So I'm not 100% overly joyed with this photograph. I think what I should have done was focused on the foreground. I focused on the background, but really maybe I should have focused on the foreground. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I always appreciate a little bit of feedback. There goes my phone. And there's also there's a couple of trapped hairs on this negative. I think I was a little bit, not careless, but I hung the negatives out where I usually hang them out. And they was in there for a while, but in between that time, my daughter was in and out. So I think a few carpet hairs from outside the bathroom got onto the negative. But we'll soon see. I don't know. Until we get the full print out, we never know what's going on with it. But it's nice to make a full print of it anyway. Because then I've got a reference to that negative. And it's just another print to my collection. And if it's any good, I'll put it out on my Etsy page. So that print's come out looking quite nice. There are a few little dust spots and a couple of hairs on it, which are actually trapped in the emulsion, which, like I said, it was hanging up in the bathroom. Just outside that bathroom is a wall carpet. Then fibre hairs have come in and just stuck onto that negative, which is a shame, but you know, it's a nothing photograph anyway, to be honest with you. If I'd focused more on the stones, I think it might have looked nicer. So I'm certainly not going to try and make another print of it or try and clean it up. It's just not worth it. But yeah, food for thought. Anyway, let's get on with that other negative, the very first one that I took. That's what I want to see how that one looks. So this is the first photograph that I took, the one that I liked with all the lines. I just thought it looked nice. But my only thing is, with the view camera, I thought I got the horizon in the middle. I hadn't. It's slightly underneath. It's slightly lower, sorry, than the middle, which means I've got a lot of sky. Really, that needs to be centre or even above a little bit more to make it look better. So I've enlarged it on the easel, which means I bring my baseboard. Sorry, I bring my easel in, and I can now crop that negative so that the horizon is more in the middle, which will look a lot nicer. And I've got to make sure that it's nice and straight as well. It was anyway. And because I've got the times from the last negative that I made a print of, I can use those times as a guide to what this one's going to be like. So I'm going to do 7 seconds again, exactly the same, and see how that comes out. Let's put the 2.5 grade filter back in. So I'll just put one test strip, exactly the same, right across the whole print diagonally, and do 7 seconds and do any adjustments from there. So that's straight off a 2.5 grade filter, this test strip. I need to make them shingle there, the shingle, much more separation to the sand. So this was 7 seconds. You see the sand? I'm going to have to just cover that for maybe 2 seconds. I'm going to do another test strip. I'm going to cover the sand for 2 seconds, and I need to burn the sky in. So I'm going to use contrast 0 filter for another 5 seconds, I reckon, just to burn that sky in. And I reckon we could be there. So let's do another test strip doing exactly what I just said. That looks much better. If I bring the other test strip in, you can see where the sand was too dark. So all I've done is just stop light hitting that sand for a few seconds during the exposure, and that's darkened our shingle which I wanted. I've got sand, so I've got my 3 areas: sky, sea, shingle and sand, and the contrast 0 filter has built up the density in the sky. That looks really nice. I'm going to go for a full print, but I'm also going to just lay off the sky maybe a couple of extra seconds. And I'm also going to lighten the sea slightly just by using this pen to cover that for maybe a couple of seconds during this exposure. So a lot of jiggery pokery going on here. I should really close the aperture down and give myself longer on the enlarger, but I reckon I can do it. So 7 seconds, cover the bottom bit. So I'm going to use this card and this pen so I could just cover the sea and cover the bottom of the ground for about 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and off. Now we'll put the 0 filter in. We'll just build that sky up. I didn't need as long as I wanted last time, so I'm going to go for just 4 seconds for the sky. And that is done. Let's see how this one comes out. If this comes out nice, then that will be my final print. I'll make a couple more, and then that will be this morning's darkroom session over. And I've only used 1 sheet of this paper for my test strips, so that's pretty good going. There's the final print. I'm quite happy with the way it's come out. So I just, like I said to you, I just dodged this area here, so this didn't get as much time as the shingles. I also dodged the sea just to make that a little bit brighter, and then burned in the sky slightly with a contrast 0, and it's come out really nice. Unfortunately, the negative has got 2 little tiny pit marks there. 1, 2 little tiny scratches where the light's just going straight through and burning the paper, and they're black. So I did try one more print where I smudged a little bit of nose grease onto the negative to see if that would work, but to no avail. That's not going to work either. So nice print, nice photograph, nice scene, nice composition. Just unfortunately those little 2 marks, I don't know how to get those out either. Yeah, just a shame about those 2 little marks, but it's shown me one thing, is that I can always go back to that scene and try it again. And the beauty of any landscape or seascape photography is you can go back again and again and again. The atmosphere, the light in the cloud is always going to be different. Hopefully maybe there might be a little sailing boat going past next time, or the tide might be in, or it might be further out. But just hang that back up there. But I think I'm definitely going to go back and revisit that scene. You know, maybe on a different camera, a different film, a different lens, maybe a wider might look nice. But getting back to the folding camera, they are fun and they are quite inexpensive as well. Obviously there are some out there that are expensive, but there's many out there that aren't that expensive, like this Franka Solida II, and they are really nice cameras. And if you get one in really good condition, the shutter speeds will work. and you've got a good lens on it, most of them are good anyway, you've got a really good camera to continue medium format photography or get into medium format photography. So anyway guys, let us know in the comments, do you shoot folders? What folder have you got? Have you got the Franka Solida II? Let me know in the comments, and a massive thank you to PYRO as well for sending me that camera, mate. If you're watching, I love it. Thank you very much indeed. And thanks to everyone else that supports the channel, subscribes and comments and gives value to what I'm doing here in the darkroom and out on the field as well in film photography. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you next time.